I want to bring in Barbara, if I may, to ask about your husband. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, my husband had hernia repair 18 years ago, and actually soon after the operation he developed this mesh infection. It was just a tiny little pinprick which it used to leak liquid out, and the doctors, they weren't concerned with it, they just left it. Then over the years, every now and again it'd break down, which it'd have to get antibiotics, his skin would break down, then it'd heal up until about 3 years ago, and it started breaking, his stomach started breaking down then, but it wasn't healing. It just kept, this little pinprick hole was getting bigger and bigger.
It was effectively an open wound.
Well, at one point he had 2 stoma bags on to catch all the poison and the blood and everything that were coming out. And when we did go to see the doctors up to hospital, they just sent us to stoma nurses to get more stoma bags, which, you know, to me, he needed a clearing out, antibiotics, and then eventually his health, because the infection on his body, he lost over 5 stone in weight. It affected his walking, because the hernia repair he had, it ruptured again, so he still had the hernias, which were quite heavy, so he couldn't. And then it went on like this. We kept going to hospital, because obviously the blood vessels are near the thing, so he was losing blood. He were having to go in for blood transfusions. At one point we had to move house, because we had an hospital bed in the dining room, a commode in the kitchen, which you can't live like that. So we moved to a bungalow, and he unfortunately was only there 6 months. And before, the day before he went into hospital, that evening, I had to call the nurses, because they did eventually take him in, opened him up, and he used to have nurses come every day to pack it. He had a vacuum on it at one point, but then that started to hurt him in the end. So, and he had an open wound there, and it used to track down one side. And when the nurses one day were cleaning him out, they said, "Oh, there's something in there." And she were trying to pull, and it were a bit difficult. She didn't like to pull, but my husband, being my husband, straight in, and it's pulled, and she had to cut, and it was part of the mesh. We didn't know it was a mesh at the time. We thought it was a bit of gauze.
Do you believe, Barbara, that the mesh contributed to your husband's death?
Oh, definitely. I think that's the infection, that it just ravaged his body.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel absolutely disgusted, you know, because it just didn't, there was nobody there for him, even though, you know, we tried. It's as though he just kept being fobbed off.
There was, you did get a letter from the hospital. In it says, a piece of the mesh has detached from the main body of the mesh and has made its way out, to be found by the nurse. And then it goes on to say, this could have been the cause of the infection. And we also have we can show our audience a copy of your husband Jim's death certificate. As you can see, one of the causes of death was a chronic abdominal wall infection. I mean, I want to ask people sitting here how you react to the fact that Barbara thinks mesh contributed to the death of her husband Jim at the age of 65, which is no age.
Absolutely no doubt that it did. I think that one of the big problems with mesh